Welcome to Brain Junk. I'm Trace Kerr.
And I'm Amy Barton. Today, we're going to be talking all about Halloween.
Ooh.
Recently, I was poking around on the internet, as one does, and I found a town in western Washington called Bucota that in the month of October completely converts to a Halloween town called Bucota.
Scary.
And I love them for that. They have... The entire town is invested. So Friday, Saturday night, everybody's doing something. They're running a haunted house. The restaurants, one of them had a Halloween flavored shake, which we couldn't find the flavor. So if you're from Bucota and you could tell us what's in the Halloween shake, I think it's graveyard. They put a little bit of every shake flavor in.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Little gummy worm on top.
Perfect.
Yep, I'm in.
Worms and dirt.
Absolutely. So today we're going to be telling you everything you never knew you wanted to know about Halloween. So I'm going to start us off just giving you a little background on the history. So you got to thank the Celts for Samhain, and that means summer's end. It's a festival where my ancestors lit fires and wore costumes to ward off ghosts. One of the main things around Halloween is that jack-o'-lantern. You know what I'm talking about. The history of the jack-o'-lantern. I'm just going to give you a short, I want to tell you a story.
Okay.
About Stingy Jack.
All right. I thought it was Stingy Jack, by the way, friends. So if you've read an article and you thought it was the same...
It's Stingy Jack. Supposedly, Stingy Jack was a heavy drinker, and he invited the devil to have a drink with him. And Jack didn't want to pay. Yeah, he didn't want to pay, so he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin, because he was like, look, I'll use you to pay for the beer, and then we'll be good. Well, instead, what he did is he stuck that coin in his pocket next to a silver cross, so the devil was stuck as a coin.
Ooh, crafty.
Yeah, and so Jack, and I'm making the story a little shorter, because it goes on a really long time, but he made a habit of tricking the devil to get more years of life. And he'd be like, look, if you want to come out of my pocket, then you need to give me more life. And you can't have my soul when I die, no matter what I do. When Jack finally did die, God is, I don't want this guy in heaven. And the devil is like, yeah, but I can't take his soul. I made a deal. So instead, what he did is he sent Jack off into the dark of night with only a burning coal to light his way. And Jack was lazy, so he carved a turnip out, put the burning coal in there as a lantern, and he's been roaming the earth ever since. And Jack of the Lantern became Jack O'Lantern.
And so whatever fall harvest food that they had was carved in.
Yeah,
that's
so
a great story.
It's a turnip or a potato. That's the Irish and the Scottish. In England, it was a beet. And it was only when the Irish and Scottish settlers came to what would become the United States, they found pumpkins, and they were like, this would be so much better than a turnip because it's easier to carve.
That's great. So it's totally legit that my son wants to carve the giant zucchinis and summer squash that we have left over.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
waiting in the garage right now. He's going to be delighted to hear this.
But it's going to be all mushy and kind of... But
they're big, so they're going to get hard. We'll see. This will be an adventure. We'll post pictures, friends.
That's true. When they reach that like leg size, because zucchinis do that thing where they look about 6 inches long for like 2 weeks, and then you go and they're boom, humongous, and they do get hard. I had a friend bring one over, and she's like, "You could make zucchini bread out of this," and I thought I could run a car over it, and it would stay exactly the same shape.
We're going to use these as speed bumps for a week or two.
No, thank you.
Exactly.
Scary vegetables. Tell me about scary cats.
Scary cats. I was curious about the black cat thing because you hear black cats with Halloween and witches, and so much of Halloween does go back to that from the old world and those religious things where it's all about the spirits. And the black cat association with Halloween is relatively more recent, but the black cat has some power in lots of cultures for lots of years. For medieval France and Spain, black cats were considered bringers of bad luck and curses to any human they came near, and they were associated with witchcraft. In medieval Germany, a person was believed to be cursed if the cat crossed their path from left to right. Right to left seems to have been okay. Left to right, deal breaker.
Okay.
Not good. However, this is a mixed thing, too, because in the British Islands, black cats were often believed to bring affluence to any house they occupied. And in Japan, they were good luck. And ancient Egypt, black cats, of course, were worshipped as sacred. But when the colonists came to the U.S. and in the big witch fervor, that is where their association with Halloween came in. Legend had it that witches could transform into a black cat or they could reincarnate into a black cat.
Oh, I
So
didn't
there
know
was a
that.
lot of suspicion that like the black cat could be a witch. And so evidence that you might be a witch is that you had a black cat. So bad luck if your barn cat happens to have this had to be a legit problem that you just might happen to have a black cat. I have a black cat. There's no mischief, no witchcraft.
Yeah.
Things are going well.
It's still hard to get them adopted.
That's what I hear. And keep them indoors on Halloween, folks, that it's not safe for them. I'm going to go with the old British islands, that they're good luck and they're going to bring affluence. We need it to be affluent because the cat seems to have a food issue and it needs fancy food. So I need her to be the bringer of affluence because her food's going to cost like twice as much for half as much.
Oh, of
Ridiculous.
course. Yeah.
Black cats. Good times.
Well, let's do some Halloween science. So I used to do demos at the elementary school for the teachers who were like, science, and my favorite one that I ever did is called the vomiting pumpkin.
Yeah, she did it in the middle of the hallway, right?
It was so great. I did it. I went classroom to classroom and classroom one year because,
Nice.
and it was, my husband was out in the hall and he said, you'd hear, ooh. And then about 20 minutes later, another classroom, ooh. Yeah, it was fantastic. So on the website, I have put a video that's an example so you can see what it looks like. And then there's also a recipe, which I'm going to kind of walk you through here just really fast. So get your pens and pencils. It's time to make a grocery list. So it's got hydrogen peroxide, dish soap, dried yeast, food coloring, and warm water. And like I said,
we have all those things in my house right now.
you have all of it. And the proportions, like I said, there's a recipe on the website. But what you do is you take your jack-o'-lantern, and when you carve it, instead of cutting off the top, you cut off the bottom.
Okay.
Turn it upside down, scoop it out, carve your face. I like to carve one where the pumpkin looks kind of, I don't feel very good. Like a frowny face. And then you need a container that can fit inside the pumpkin, like a canning jar. Okay. So you've mixed in a small jar your yeast and your warm water, and the yeast is starting to proof. Okay. In another jar, you've got hydrogen peroxide and dish soap and your food coloring. Food coloring does nothing except make it more easy to see. Your hydrogen peroxide, that's hydrogen and oxygen, okay? What the yeast is going to do is knock the oxygen loose.
Okay.
That's all those bubbles that you see.
Yes.
And the soap is going to catch all those bubbles.
Okay.
You take your hydrogen peroxide mixture and you've got your pumpkin ready and you pour your yeast in there, slam down the pumpkin, and then it creates all of this foam and it vomits out the pumpkin's nose and eyes and mouth. It's all over the table. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic.
Oh, that is good. I
super
love
fun.
that. Because I'm always in the office when that's happening. I never get to go see it.
Well, I'll have to do it for you.
Yeah. Is the custodian, are
No,
they down
because
with that?
I did it in a giant, like a dish tray.
Okay.
The example that I have on the website, they have it at the edge of a table and it's foaming
Cascading.
into a garbage can.
Oh, I like that.
Which I wish I had known because it was much more spectacular that way. Because then it's like, whoa, coming way out of the pumpkin.
Yeah, I like that.
And so you could do this at your kid's school and then you'll be an absolute rock star. I tell you that it could be April. And if I go to that school, those kids were like, it's the pumpkin lady. Yeah. So it's good for your ego.
That's excellent.
Science, Halloween, pumpkins, and unfortunately the reaction is pretty fast, but if there was a way that you could do it, like when you knew kids were coming up your driveway,
Yes.
when they're coming to trick or treat,
That would be super fun.
it'd be so cool.
You'd have to wait in the cold for a long time.
That's true.
Right in the moment. Might be worth it though.
Well, yeah. Instead of putting the pumpkin out on your porch and you're tricking the kids, what about them coming and tricking us?
Yes, I love the movie Meet Me in St. Louis, and I was curious about some of the Halloween traditions that you see in that movie because they're serious. They are definitely doing tricks. They go and they throw flour on Mr. Brockoff, and I think they tell him that they hope he's going to die. Or they're really like, about the whole thing. And then there's an unattended bonfire in the street, and
When is Meet Me in St. Louis supposed to take place?
it's around the World Fair around the 1903, 1904, I believe, because I think it was the 1904 World Fair in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
So, turn of the century, unattended children, different time, bonfires in the street, unattended. So I was curious, what's the history of that? Because that is not happening anymore, I think. It's not happening in my neighborhood.
No.
That's more of a 4th of July kind of thing where there's fire in the streets. It's different.
Yep.
So I did a little Googling and I found Mischief Night. And apparently, if you're an East Coast listener, you'll be like, yeah, that's a thing. It still happens. The first mention was back in Britain in 1790. And it wasn't actually around Halloween. It was the night before May Day. But it was the same kind of idea. Kids played practical jokes. And the jokes were... We would toilet paper now. You know, you go and wrap people's trees in toilet paper. No, they were switching shop signs and overturning water tubs and trapping people inside their houses.
Oh, God.
Oh, these are things that would be considered maybe a misdemeanor now, and you would probably go to court for if you did some of these things. You also see mentions of it on the night before Guy Fawkes, which I believe is November. And the young people would switch gates belonging to private residences. And there's a picture, it's a great picture I'll post to the website, of a gate hanging from a lamp post. And there's a guy, you see his back and he has his fist raised in the air and kids are running away from him. And he is clearly fiery because it's a little too high for him to easily get down. It's his gate is hanging from a lamp post. And around the 30s and 40s, it was big enough that it was starting to become a real actual problem. And so in the Boston Globe, it describes kids ringing false alarms and setting fires and breaking windows and doing their best to annoy people, is what it said. Disappearing horse and wagons, leaves dumped on lawns. This has been a historical kind of a problem. So I have a feeling, I think you're going to talk more about it, how this kind of evolved into maybe we can channel some of this creative mischief into something a little bit more socially appropriate.
Well, because the numbers that I found, 1920s, they estimated over $100,000 in damages from pranks every year.
Yeah, huge.
Across the United States. And so in the 30s, when it was still, it's a whole bunch of mischief, it seemed like there was a real push to be community. The community was like, we need to have a more constructive way of celebrating this. What if we have the kids go from house to house and we give them candy? Yay!
Yeah, that makes the trick or treat much more like fingers crossed trick or treat.
Yes.
What are we getting? Do you have eggs in there? Please don't throw them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then with sugar rationing in World War II, that all kind of went away. And then when it came back, that's when it really started being that modern trick or treating.
It is still a problem. In 1995, Detroit officials coordinated tens of thousands of volunteers to patrol neighborhoods. They call it Angels Night. They're trying to combat that vandalism and switch up how that night is. So that's only 20 years ago.
Wow.
So Mischief Night. It's a big deal, apparently. Not here in Washington State, to my knowledge.
No.
Thank goodness. Good job, Washingtonians. Way to be chill.
Exactly. We have some different trends to talk about, though.
Excellent.
So spending this year is estimated to reach $9 billion on Halloween. That's costumes and candy and decorations, the whole thing.
Wow. Your costume has to come out of the basement at my house.
I know. I'm kind of like, what can you build? And then there's a 2017 National Retail Federation poll. So 71% of Americans hand out candy.
Yeah.
49% decorate. 48% wear a costume. 46% carve a pumpkin. I thought it was kind of interesting. At least half of us are kind of participating in some way.
That's kind of fun.
I know a lot of the grandparenty age people that, I'm going to bed at 7. Turn off the porch light.
Yes.
And 16% of people dress up their pets.
Yeah.
So humiliating.
My sister is here with us today. And
she got this huge smile on her face. She's, ding, I do. Can I post some pictures?
Yes, for sure. We will be posting some of Ruth's pets on Facebook.
That would be good,
Instagram.
because I had some pictures that my kids have always been into really making ridiculously over-the-top costumes like samurai and all this kind of stuff, and Princess Mononoke.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So we were... I wore a bridesmaid dress last year. Allie wore a bridesmaid's dress. And I think Will was a paper boy or something. Oh, no, he wore one of the old military jackets in the family.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so...
That works.
From the basement. Not a lot of time spent.
You go down and you do some shopping. 36.1 million children between the ages of 5 to 13 will be out there begging for candy.
Wow. So 13 is the cutoff?
Kids older go trick-or-treating. I noticed a couple of years ago that, and it was a weekend, got it's not quite dark, and they're almost toddler crowd, and then as it getting darker, 8:30, those kids, and then I had about like 8:45, 9 o'clock, knock, knock, knock. And it's 2 high school age guys in hockey masks holding pillowcases. And I'm standing there with my hand on the deadbolt thinking, ordinarily, I wouldn't open the door. Open the door, and they just hold out their bags.
Here's a Gatorade and some clean socks, boys.
Well,
give them.
I gave them candy, but I made them say trick or treat, which they hated. I was like, hey, what's going on, guys? What do you say? And they're like, And I said, oh, no, that's not how this works. And they're like, and they look at each other with their hockey masks, trick or treat. So I just dumped half into each because it was kind of the end of the night. But
awesome.
Scary. Yeah, but it does seem like that 13-y sort of.
Yeah, where they still look like kids.
Oh, and in 2017, the top costume for children was, what do you think? This is like a general kind of thing.
What, you said 2013?
17.
2017. Ooh, not Iron Man anymore, but...
It was a superhero.
Was it?
So that's kind of your general... It doesn't matter.
Captain
just
America?
Action. Oh. It's action /
I can stop naming them.
Superhero. You're like, but I want to pick one specific one. And for adults, it was a witch.
Yeah.
Probably a sexy
put a hat
witch.
On. I don't know. I'm 41.
I know, but it always seems like it's like, why have just a costume when you can have like a sexy costume?
Yeah, when you can wear fishnets.
Yeah, sorry, kids. And for pets, it was a pumpkin. And this is kind of funny. So while the most popular costumes for people tend to change, I looked at data all the way back to 2013, and pets are firmly stuck wearing the pumpkin outfit.
Oh, poor pets.
You know, it's just that poor little pug with a little cap on his head. Before we go, I remember years ago there was a pet costume. It was a dog wearing an alligator costume. His whole body was covered by it. And when he walked, because like the jaws were over his face. I don't know how they got this dog to wear the costume, let alone walk. But the mouth would kind of. So it looked like he was trying to.
Inside?
Yeah, he's trying to bite you as he walked.
Oh, that's so good. That's a really mellow dog.
Such a good dog.
Yeah.
It's probably a Labrador.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm a little biased.
They are smart. Please come visit us at brainjunkpodcast.com. We'll have pictures and more notes for you on... We'll probably have pictures of Ruth's dogs for sure. There's the picture of the angry guy waving his fist in the air. Good pictures, good stuff.
Yep.
I have a little link because I really like Jack Skellington and The Nightmare Before Christmas. And so there's fun facts about that Halloween-y good movie just as a freebie on the website. For this and other wonderful episodes, look for Brain Junk wherever you find your podcasts. And please don't forget to like and subscribe.
Or we'll haunt you.
Yeah.
We tweet at MyBrainJunk, and you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at BrainJunkPodcast. Or email us at brainjunkpodcast@gmail.com. Gosh, that's long, but that's just what we got. Amy and I will catch you next time when we share more of everything you never knew you wanted to know, and I guarantee you will not be bored.